Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Dulal Braja Jana Rangana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Rangana Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman Sita Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman Jaya Srinath Gopal Jaya Srinath Gopal Srinath Gopal Jaya Srinath Gopal Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anand Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. ISKCON of New Jersey, Tobacco Temple and soon to be Parsippany Temple ki jai. Can you all see the picture up top? You can, right? I don't know, Anandrupa Devi. Is this from Janmashtami or do you remember? God Purnima, right? I love this picture. I was like looking through. I spent so much time on this picture more than I did on the rest of the PowerPoint, trying to search for the right because there are so many great pictures, and you look like at one picture of Krishna and you say, "Wow, that's beautiful," and then you see another one and you say, "That's even more beautiful," and then you kind of like get confused about which one to pick, right? All right. Can you see that? Because Nilamani Prabhu said. So we're going to talk about an interesting topic today. Is Krishna partial or impartial? And it's from Bhagavad Gita 9.29. So I'll chant each line and then, let's chant together after that. Samoham sarvabhuteshu. Oh, you can't see what's up there? Oh, that's quite delayed. I moved it like a minute and a half ago. It's still hanging? Oh, Nilamani Prabhu, I did get a message saying, please confirm it's you trying to log in, meaning I'm not Nilamani, but that's what it told me. So I was going to chant the Mangalacharana prayers after this, but while Nilamani Prabhu is um, trying to fix that, let's chant the Mangalacharana prayers together. It came up now? You see the verse? Oh. You need to flip the slide 5 minutes before you actually want to go to the next. You sit there close to it. No, but there's a delay. So I'm going to the next slide and it's still. Yeah. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतां पदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं स्तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Nitai Gaura. All right, which slide are we on upstairs? It's coming. Oh, there's no slide there. In there? I see Chaitanya Charitamrita. I see, hold on. No, I found it. It was hidden deep inside. Would help if the slide was up there. It's up there. Thank you. It's always more fun when everyone chants the verse together. Okay. Sorry. No problem. I think it's a new system, right? The mic, the wireless. Samoham sarvabhuteshu न मे द्वेष्योऽस्ति न प्रियः ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या मयि ते तेषु चाप्यहम् समः equally disposed. Aham, I, this is Krishna speaking. Sarva Bhuteshu, to all living entities. Na, no one. To me, may. Yeah. Dveshaha, hateful. Asti, is. Na, nor. Priyaha, dear. Ye, those who. Bhajanti, render transcendental service. To. Now, in many Indian languages, tu means you, right? In Sanskrit, tu means but. It's used as a point of emphasis. But mam, unto me, bhaktya, in devotion, mai, are in me, te, such persons, teshu, in them, cha, also, api, certainly, aham, I. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Krishna says, I envy no one. That's Samoham Sarvabhuteshu. Yeah? Nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Purport. One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination, it is natural. Any man in this material world or woman may be very charitably disposed, yet they have a special interest in their own children. Let me ask the parents here. You are all very charitable people, but does your child come first or your children come first? Yeah. The Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son. And so he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He's just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on rock, land, or on water. So the purport goes on, but let's spend a couple minutes here. So Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all. But then suddenly he says, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. And Srila Prabhupada points out one very important fact in this, the opening line of this purport, or opening paragraph of this purport. Why does he take a special interest in the devotees? Is this not discrimination? And Prabhupada says it's not discrimination. If Krishna were not a person, and Krishna tells us again and again in Gita that he is a person, the person, Krishna, is the source of his impersonal effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti, and the super soul within the heart, the Paramatma, right? So, but if Krishna were not a person, then he could be like a stone. For example, this fan, right? This little fan, you can say this is impersonal, it has no consciousness, right? It's equal to everyone and it's impartial in the sense that, if you throw it, or if you throw it or I throw it, Nandanacharya throws it, right? It'll break down, right? But if we nicely treat it, we pour oil and once in a while WD-40, it'll run smoothly. It doesn't matter who does it, it'll do the same thing. But Krishna is specially inclined to those who serve him with love. And the reason for that is because Krishna is a person. So, what does it mean that he's equal to everyone? It means that he provides the facilities and the same exact processes by which they can make material or spiritual progress to every living entity. But Krishna is God, but there is one thing that he does not control. Only one thing. No, karma he Karma, Krishna is the controller of karma. He says in Gita, Maya Dakshina Prakriti. Yeah. Like you're getting close. Bhakti, yeah. What else? Desire, actions, getting closer. Free will, yes. The heart of every living entity. Krishna does not control the heart. So Krishna has control over everything, but he's given us a limited amount of free will. And people struggle, people of all faiths and religions. I mean, in my company where I work, the overwhelming majority of people are from the Judeo-Christian background, and I have lots of discussions with people who are interested, because people always come into my office and they ask me like, hey, what is this picture and who's this personality? It's Srila Prabhupada and my guru Radhanath Swami. And sometimes they inquire, sometimes they don't inquire, but if they do, this concept of free will seems to stump everyone, because it's like, well, if I have free will, why can't I do anything and everything that I want? Well, think of it this way: the government gives us free will in terms of driving on the highway. Yeah, you pay your registration fees, you get a license, and then pretty much the government doesn't say, what, don't go to Tobacco, go to somewhere else, right? Go to Paramus instead. Go to the Garden State Mall instead of going to ISKCON of New Jersey, right? It doesn't tell us that. You can do whatever you want. But say you start driving at 150 miles an hour, right? Or you start like bumping into people or crashing into people. Does the government step in? It does, right? So the police will stop you. If you're doing something like that, 150 miles an hour, crashing into other people, you'll pretty much get hauled off to jail, right? And so the government is giving the construct, which is the laws and the parameters within which there is an exercise of free will. You with me so far? Yeah. So there's free will, but there is a limit to the extent of the free will, right? And so it's described in all the Bhakti Shastras that the living entity is constructed in such a way that he is eternally under the control of one of two energies that are under the control of Krishna. And those energies are the material energy and the spiritual energy. So our only choice is, do I want to be controlled by the material energy, or do I want to be under the control of the spiritual energy, right? And so this is the construct within which our free will operates, right? Another analogy that's given is the sky and the wind. So the wind can roam anywhere, but the limit is the sky, right? So there are boundaries to where the wind can also roam. So Krishna controls everything. Krishna controls the energies which bind all of us as jivas, as living entities. But what he does not control is our heart. And our heart dictates what we do, isn't it? Sometimes we think it's my brain doing it, but it's really our heart. Because the heart is the one that's saying, I really wish I could eat a gulab jamun right now instead of listening to Yasoda Dulal talk. I would love to eat some gulab jamun or some nice prasad. Or maybe if you're fasting today, I'll wait till tomorrow night and, eat some prasad. Or the heart is the one that's saying, because every living entity is looking for happiness, the heart is the one that's saying, you know, I'm bored by this. Let me try this instead, right? So you might think that it's your head doing it. It's actually the heart actuating everything that we think, desire, and wish and feel, right? And so Krishna has given us the free will of where to bestow our heart. And where we bestow our heart is where we bestow our attention, right? And that's where we bestow our effort. So if we are not convinced from the heart about something, and that's why bhakti is such a process of the heart. You can't force someone to do bhakti because it's impossible. Bhakti means, how did Prabhupada translate it? Devotional service, right? Because love means service. Love is a verb. It's not a noun. So you cannot force someone to love someone, and you cannot force someone. You can force them to serve, but it won't be with love, right? And bhakti is all about serving with love. So that's one point. So then Krishna says, I've given you this free will of where to bestow your heart. And if you choose, instead of all these shiny, glittery objects of the material world, you choose to spend your energy and your heart and your emotions and your resources in serving me, and serving my devotees, because serving devotees is not different from serving Krishna. In fact, Krishna describes ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when the whole Ambarish Maharaj story is happening, that his devotees are even more dear to him than himself, right? So when we spend our time and our in energy and our emotions in serving Krishna and his devotees, then Krishna becomes bound by love. And that's the point that Srila Prabhupada is making on this page. So I changed the page. I don't know where it is. Did something come up with that starts with but for his devotees? Perfect. So something speeded up. Audara Gauranga maybe did that. But for his devotees, Krishna gives specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they're always transcendently situated in Krishna. The very phrase Krishna consciousness suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists situated in Him. The Lord here says distinctly, Maite, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse number 11. I actually have a slide on that later because it connects very nicely with this particular verse. Whoever surrenders unto me, proportionately I take care of him. I was listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was saying, you approach Krishna with love, he will reciprocate with love. You approach Krishna with hate, he won't reciprocate with hate, but he will have the structure that he set up. Remember that analogy of the government putting you in jail because you're crashing into other people, right? He'll put that into motion because you can't really do anything to destroy Krishna or hurt him or something, right? So he's just going to, say, okay, fine, I have my karmic system set up that'll take care of you, right? Um, Prabhupada was saying, if you want to cheat Krishna, he's the biggest cheater. Who can cheat Krishna, right? And we hear again and again when we hear Krishna Lila that he's cheating his devotees. But why is he cheating? He's not cheating for his personal gain. He's cheating to flood our hearts with joy. Because think about it, when many of your parents here, I'm looking around and I recognize a lot of parents. Many of your parents here, when your child is little and they're being naughty and they've maybe stolen a little bit of candy or something, they've stolen it. They know they've stolen it, right? And yet, what is the answer you get when you say, did you steal it? No, I didn't. Maya, I didn't do it. And they've got that toffee stuck in their mouth, right? But they're still saying, I didn't do it. What does that do to the parent? The parent's heart is like joyous, right? And the child is cheating. They're saying no. So Krishna is a transcendental cheater. So you want to cheat Krishna, he'll cheat you back much more than you can ever cheat him, right? So that's the reciprocation that Krishna talks about. However we approach Krishna, that's how he approaches us. Oh, I forgot the last line. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. Because we are Jivatmas, Krishna is the Paramatma, right? He's the Param Brahma. So it's really essential, this point of reciprocation, and we'll come back to this. Srila Prabhupada further writes, when a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified because they glorify each other. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter. And when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and because I don't know about you, I'm striving to get rid of those faults and hopefully one day in some life, hopefully this life, but maybe in a future life, get pure. So Prabhupada is defining living entities in a pure state who are existing solely to give pleasure to Krishna are called devotees, right? One day, Srila Prabhupada was sitting in his room and devotees walked in because Prabhupada was never alone unless he was doing translation work on all these wonderful books he wrote. He would always love having devotees around. And so devotees walked in and they said, Jai Srila Prabhupada. And he instinctively called out Jai Srila Prabhupada because he was calling out to his Guru Maharaj, right? And then someone said, Prabhupada, you are the best devotee. And Prabhupada immediately almost became tearful and he hung his head. And he looked down and he said very softly, he said, to be a devotee is the highest thing in creation. It's not something we say lightly. So he was teaching us by his own example. Prabhupada is the topmost devotee, but his own example, the moment someone glorified him, he was like, to be called a devotee is not a light thing, right? So Prabhupada is writing, living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The next line, the supreme and we're going to talk about some of those in coming slides. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonalist philosophy, that is, Krishna is formless, there is no, Bhagavan, it's only energy, right? There's no reciprocation between the supreme and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. See, one difference that Prabhupada would often point out between the system of worship or spirituality or religion, whatever you want to call it, that he taught us and what the world's religions teach and how they're practiced. The original teachings of each religion point to one thing, which is worship God with all your love, mind, body, word, soul, right? With all your heart. But the practice of many religions, including Hinduism, right? The practice of many religions is Krishna, please give me this. Krishna, you're my order supplier. Krishna, you are this. We may say we worship him. And Krishna himself says in Gita, right? That four types of people come and approach him. And it's the distress, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and those who are seeking transcendental knowledge, right? But in Kali Yuga, it's really the distressed, the distressed, the distressed, and the distressed who are seeking out Krishna, right? Because we go to him, and in most practices of religion, no matter which religion you're in, the conception is, yeah, there is God, he's out there. Can you leave me alone till I need you, please? Like, let me just do my own thing. I'm happy with my house, my car, my children, my. Oh, by the way, sorry, yeah, I forgot. My business is not doing really well. So can you fix it if you don't mind? Yeah. And then, my daughter needs to get married and not finding a good groom for her. Like, please, Krishna, can you make that happen? Right? Krishna is an order supplier, but that's not what. And Krishna does that. Krishna is so kind. He fulfills the living entity's desires, but only as they deserve. So we all come with past karmas, right? Past karmic reactions from our previous lives. And to the extent that that's allowed, we get the good results or the suffering of those karmic reactions, right? But this is going beyond that. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma, because when you approach him with love, what you're getting back, the reciprocation you're getting from Krishna, is not a karmic payback. It is an affair of the heart. Yeah. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world, it is part of the spiritual world, where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. So I have a question for you all. Here is the question. Am I supposed to change computers? Okay. This seems to be working okay. No? Oh, it's not? Okay. So I have a question for you all. Now that we've heard this discussion in Srila Prabhupada's purport, is Krishna partial or impartial? He's partial to the devotees. That's a good answer. Someone. But didn't he say in this verse he's impartial? He's impartial, okay. But didn't he say that he's partial to his devotees? But it's impartial, okay. Anyone else? You must have read my slides. So the answer is he is beyond partial and impartial. He is reciprocal. This is really important to know, right? Krishna, ye yatha mams prapadyante, right? That 4.11 verse that I mentioned. Krishna reciprocates with how we approach him and what we do as loving offering to him. So some examples of Krishna's reciprocation. Are you ready to plug it in?
This is what's being displayed now.
Oh, this is being displayed. Thank you. Can you see this now? Question for you all? Okay.
Hardwired.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So he is reciprocal. So I want to give some examples. Hold on. Of it was supposed to fall one by one. Okay, I won't even get into that. Some examples of Krishna's reciprocation. So let's stay here for a second. Bhishma Dev and the Battle of Kurukshetra. Yeah, I'm going to go back to that so you don't read the rest of the slide yet. Yeah. Um, I might quiz you on it. No, just kidding. So Bhishma Dev is a devotee of Krishna, is a pure devotee of Krishna, is listed as one of the 12 Mahajans, 12 authorities that we follow, right? And yet he fought against Krishna. What kind of a devotee is that, right? Because there are many transcendental mellows in which Krishna can be served. And one of those mellows is the mellow of fighting. Krishna likes a good joust occasionally. And who can fight with him? Demons cannot fight with him. Only his devotees can properly give him a fight, right? And Bhishma Dev knew that. So this mood of chivalry or fighting was the way in which Bhishma Dev served Krishna. And it was Bhishma's dearest desire to see Krishna. He was like, okay, if I have to, he was given the ability to die at will. And he was like, okay, I'm done. I've led such a long life. I would like to leave my body in front of Krishna. So maybe if Krishna can attack me, that would be fantastic. But Krishna had taken a vow. I'm not going to fight, right? When Duryodhana and Arjuna came to him to ask, he said, either you can choose me and I won't lift a single weapon, I won't lift my arms at all and don't do any fighting, or you can have my entire army, right? And Duryodhana said, oh, Arjuna, he was given the first choice, right? Because Krishna had seen Arjuna first, he was sitting at his lotus feet. Arjuna said, I want you, Krishna. I don't care about your army. I just want you. Wherever you are, that's where my heart is, right? And Duryodhana was instantly inside, feeling so happy. Who wants Krishna? I want his army, right? And so Bhishma Dev wanted Krishna to do that, but yet, and he engineered a situation, and actually Krishna within the hearts of all the living entities there engineered the situation where Bhishma fought so aggressively and so ferociously that Krishna that day he was taking the arrows meant for Arjuna on his chest, on his, they were bouncing off his shoulders. Krishna was like bloodied in the battle, and he was steering the chariot fast and furious here and there. And then finally, when Arjuna was about to be killed by Bhishma Dev, Krishna could not contain his anger anymore because he wanted to protect Arjuna at all costs. And Krishna picked up the chariot wheel of the broken chariot that was lying there and rushed at Bhishma Dev to kill him. And Bhishma instantly dropped his weapons and he was standing there, my lord, finish me now. That's what I wanted. I wanted to fight with you in such a way and give you pleasure of fighting. And so Krishna reciprocated with Bhishma Dev. But Krishna reciprocated with someone else also, Duryodhan. Now you might say, really? Duryodhan? Duryodhan didn't even acknowledge Krishna as God. Right? Even when Duryodhan saw the Virat Rupa, the universal form of Krishna, Duryodhan did not acknowledge Krishna as God. He thought he must be some magician, some yogi, showing some skills, right? So, how does Krishna reciprocate with Duryodhan? He allows him to forget him. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Forgetfulness, apohanam, right? So Duryodhan wanted to forget that Krishna is God and do his own thing. So Krishna disempowered him as he tried to obstruct Krishna's purpose. And then we come to Mother Yashoda, right? Krishna is reciprocating with Mother Yashoda. We're singing of her glories all month of Kartik, right? We're singing not just Damodar's glories, actually, we're singing Mother Yashoda's glories because the love of Yashoda is so great that it overcomes the godhood and the awesomeness and the power of Krishna, right? Think about this pastime. Krishna is God. He supplies food and all necessities to human beings animals, birds, beasts, everything, right? You don't think he could have reached out and magically got hold of that butter that she was churning, right? And just put it into his mouth. He didn't need to engineer this whole Leela, right? He could have just said, hey, dude, I'm like God. Like, okay, Nandanacharya, don't stand in my way. I'm God, right? And I can just get the butter. But Krishna was a helpless baby, and he was like sucking Mother Yashoda's breast, and then she puts him down because the milk is overflowing in the kitchen, and that milk is meant to serve Krishna by making into sweets and buttermilk that he loves, right? And she's been cultivating the grasses, that went to the most special cows of Nanda Maharaj's herd, and then she personally milked those cows. She cared for those cows, and that milk wasn't a selfish desire, but she wanted to run and pick up that milk off the fire so it wouldn't overflow. And then Krishna gets angry. How can you have any other point of attention than me? Especially, he does that to pure devotees. He reciprocates like allowed himself to be bound not child abuse, right? If we view it through today's lens, we might say God. Like, I mean, Ambika Mataji, have you ever tied your children up? You haven't, right? I know you're a fantastic mother. So you've not, but that's today's values. And this was a very rustic rural society. And she was going to tie him up because she was busy all day doing services for Krishna. And Krishna is so naughty. Little children are naughty, like Abhay and Arjun, right? Premaras, they're so naughty. Krishna is a million times naughtier than that. Can you imagine dealing with someone like that? And Yashoda is dealing with this most mischievous kid, right? And she wants him to stay out of trouble. So she's trying to bind him. And Krishna is reciprocating with her desire. But Krishna, being God and being naughty, always has a twist to it. Krishna is never straightforward. Have you noticed? Well, here we don't have Radha and Krishna, but of course we've seen Radha and Krishna. He's always standing in threefold bending form. He's crooked. He's not straightforward, right? Our Ram is straightforward because he's the personification of virtue. Krishna is just crooked, right? Why is he crooked? I've heard one great speaker mention this because our hearts are very crooked and they're twisted. In Kali Yuga, our hearts are crooked. It takes someone who's crooked to get inside that crooked heart and pull out all the lousy stuff that's in there, clean it, and then go sit inside that heart. That's why we need a crooked God, and that's fantastic. Thank God he's crooked, right? But he's crooked in the most lovable way, right? So Krishna had a purpose. He allowed himself to be caught. There's this whole drama that happens. We're all familiar with that story. And where does he get caught? Right in front of the mortar, the grinding mortar, right? And right by the Yamala Arjuna trees, that Krishna has this plan. I want to free those two living entities that are trapped inside the bodies of those trees, right? So he allows himself to be caught there. And then he's tied and he drags the mortar and fells the trees, and out come, the sons of Kuvera. And, this whole pastime, we sing about it every day in Damodarashtakam. So Krishna is reciprocating with Mother Yashoda. And the story is, I mean, the moral of the story, so to speak, is it's a most enjoyable pastime, but really there are so many deep lessons. And I think Hari Parshad Prabhu, Amarendra Prabhu have given great classes on this in the past year at Tobacco. The moral of this story really is that the greatness of Yashoda's love overcomes the might of Krishna's godhood. That's really the fundamental aspect of this story. And so Krishna is reciprocating. And then we come to the gopis of Vrindavan. But wait, haven't we heard that their love for Krishna is so great? He declares, I cannot repay you in the lifetime of Brahmaji. Brahmaji lives for 311 trillion years, which is incalculable by our standards, right? And Krishna says, I can't even repay you. And he says, let your own glorious deeds be your compensation, right? He says that in Bhagavatam 10th canto, 32nd chapter, 22nd verse, right? So how is he reciprocating? Because the gopis only want what Krishna wants to the extreme degree. They don't care about their happiness, their distress. There is that famous story where Narad Muni is sent by Krishna to test the love of, because Narad Muni is curious, like, why are the gopis of Vrindavan on the highest pedestal as devotees? And so Krishna says, well, go tell the Dwarkavasis, my queens, that I have a headache and only the dust of your feet will solve my headache. Only if I can put the dust of your feet on my head, I can solve it. And Narad Muni goes to the different devotees in Dwarka and they're all like, oh, Krishna has a headache? Yeah, we would love to help. What is the solution? I need your dust. And what are you going to do with that dust? He's going to put it on his head. Oh, I can't do that. He's God. You can't give your dust to God and to put on his head. No, no, no. I mean, let's find a physician or something, to take care of Krishna's headache. And then Narada goes to Brindavan. And in Braj, he goes to the gopis. As soon as the gopis hear this, they're like, here, here, take all the dust. Let's carry buckets. Like they're like enthusiastic to fill up buckets with the dust to their feet. They're like, we will go to hell. Who cares if we go to hell? Who the hell cares if we go to hell? Right? If that means that Krishna will be rid of his headache. This is the love of the gopis. This is something we theoretically hear and we understand, but I mean, at least for me, I have no practical realization of this. But I hear this, and someday by Krishna's grace and the gopis' grace, I'll hopefully hear it or I'll realize it. I talked about 411. Ye yatha mam pravadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushyaha partha sarvashaha. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. But does everyone really follow Krishna's path? There are so many atheists, agnostics, non believers. Remember our discussion in the beginning that every jiva is either under the control of the material energy or the spiritual energy. So Krishna has given us free will. You want to, go away from Krishna. You want to hate him. You want to do something solely for your, own desires. Krishna says, be my guest. I've set up a whole system here. And just like you can't blame the government if they put you in jail for crashing into someone at 150 miles an hour, you broke the law. And the government didn't say you go break the law, right? But you did anyway by your free will. So now you're in jail. So the whole material world is the karmic actions and reactions of living entities who have chosen to rebel against God and chosen to pursue only their happiness. See, the secret of Krishna consciousness is that simply by serving Krishna and his devotees and giving them happiness, we become happy. The Bible says, give, right? And you shall be happy, right? You shall receive, yes. But also you shall be happy. And it's actually true. You've seen this, in your own lives. I've seen it in my lives. When sometimes I get out of my selfishness and I try to do some service or I try to do something selflessly, the feeling of happiness that I get is much more than if I accumulated things for myself, selfish things or material things for myself. So it is actually very true. This is why Krishna consciousness, because it's a matter of the heart. Remember our original discussion? It's our choice where we want to invest our heart. This verse is like user driven spirituality. We love words like this. And by the way, I will do a shout out to Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, who also comes here regularly and speaks, one of the most brilliant monks we have in the movement. Chaitanya Charan is the author of like 27 books, and I credit him almost exclusively with igniting a love for reading Bhagavad Gita in my heart, because he's a lover of Bhagavad Gita, and he explains so beautifully. You can find him on Amazon or on his website gitadaily.com or spiritualscientist.com. Right? He's a scientist and now a monk. And Chaitanya Charan, a lot of Bhagavad Gita explanations and food for thought, that I have, it comes from him. So I wanted to give that credit to him. User driven spirituality. This verse talks about from our place, at our pace, access Krishna's grace, right? Krishna considers no one unqualified, even if they have inadequate spiritual qualifications. And we don't have time to get into all these verses, but if you want to list down 4.36 and 9.32 talks about how even if you're the most abominable of all, sinful persons, if you take to the path of transcendence, you will still be uplifted. 932 is anyone who is at the lowest of, level of mankind, or any level below the highest levels of like devotees, brahmanas, like that. Not brahmanas by birth, brahmanas by qualification, right? um, Anyone can access Krishna consciousness. And then this hope giving verse 2.40, which is where even the slightest amount of advancement can protect us from a great amount of fear, right? Or great amount of danger. And there's no loss or diminution on this path. At our pace, Krishna accommodates everyone, even those who are not ready yet to commit to spiritual pursuits. And He's given us the yoga ladder, right? The yoga ladder starts from animal life, human life, right? Then karma yoga, then jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and then you're still in the material modes. And then you go beyond, right? Either to impersonal liberation or to realization of Paramatma in the heart. And then bhakti yoga, which is above that, which is realization of Bhagavan, the person, right? And access Krishna's grace. Krishna is in our heart always. He's directing our wanderings in material nature. 18.61, living at the seated as if on a machine, right? That verse. And giving us the necessary resources for the journey. Bhagavad Gita 15.12 to 15.15. He talks about how he provides the light of the sun, and light of the moon nourishes the vegetables, and then He's the fire of digestion, right? Enables us whatever we eat, it's digested because of Krishna's energy, right? And then 15.15, which I quoted earlier, that from Him come memory, forgetfulness, and remembrance, right? And Krishna gives us the resources to access Him for the journey. And wherever we are, we can access the journey. And that's the yoga ladder. I want to stop. I think we are at 6. I don't know if you have time for questions, or we should call it a day. Yeah? Do you have any questions or comments? Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Prabhupada ki Jai. Yes, sir. Krishna also control the yuga. Yeah, yeah. The system that Krishna has devised, yes. So that includes these yugas that come in cycles, right? And the lifetime of Brahma that I mentioned, the 311 trillion years, that's mentioned specifically in 8th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam, but also in Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, so He controls that. He controls everything except our heart, because we choose who to give our heart to. All right, I think. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. So I mentioned that He's reciprocal. Is He partial or is He impartial? This was the question I'd posed, right? And He's reciprocal. He's beyond partial and impartial. He reciprocates as we approach Him. Okay. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, Ashtanga Yoga too. Yeah, because a lot of yeah, because Ashtanga Yoga, typically we think of it as Paramatma realization of Krishna in the heart, but also there is a lot of impersonal strains of thought in the Ashtanga Yoga process. So they're striving for impersonal Brahman. They're also thinking, okay, Krishna is in the heart, but He's impersonal, not realizing that Krishna is actually a person. And the Bhagavan realization is only from Bhakti Yoga. Right? Yes, Mataji. Yeah. Yeah. He's reciprocal in the sense that those who hate Him either want to deny His existence or want to forget Him. So He allows them to hate Him or forget Him. That's the reciprocation. And then what happens after that, that's the system of karma that He set up that deals with them. because he doesn't deal with it on a day-to-day basis. The system deals with him, but that system is under his control. It's not like he's controlled by the system. So good point, but that's how the reciprocation comes in. Make sense? Yes, Nandana Acharya.
Reciprocation is like if you take one, like they say, if you take one step towards him, he takes 10 steps
Mhm.
towards you. So it's reciprocation is magnifying
Yeah.
your reciprocation.
Yeah, Nandan Acharya Prabhu is saying that if you take one step towards Krishna, then he takes 10 steps towards you, right? And that's reciprocation magnified. Actually, Krishna is just looking for an excuse to give us love and to give us a connection with him. Because we think we are happy in this world, we think this is what we want, but it's like that child who, insists on going to the gas range which is lit and wants to put his hand inside the gas. We know that's not right. So we keep pulling his hand back, right? We don't let him just say, okay, put your hand inside and then you'll be burnt and you'll realize that you're not happy, right? So Krishna is giving us all these aids to like remember him and to take steps towards him. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Yeah. So Prabhu is saying, in one of the verses, Krishna says that, certain demoniac mentality of remembrance. There's actually a nice anecdote by Srila Prabhupada. He was asked by his disciple, Prabhupada, after you leave this planet, where are you going next? Where he wants me to go? But he said, I might have to go to hell. And devotee said, hell? You, Srila Prabhupada? He said, yeah, because even the people in the jivas in the hellish planets, who's going to rescue them? I have to go and rescue them. So, the mercy of Krishna is boundless. Even in the hellish planets, he sends his Vaikuntha messengers. Brihad Bhagavatamrita has a nice description. I always think of a crowded railway junction in India or in England somewhere, where, when I read that chapter of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where Vaikuntha are coming and they're taking rest or stopping at a particular point, right, in the Brahmajyoti, and they're like going off in different directions, right? Some are going to the hellish planet, some are going to the heavenly planets, some to the earthly planets, simply to take the message of Krishna to those planets. So Srila Prabhupada was like that. He wasn't afraid to go to hell simply to rescue those people. So Krishna spreads his mercy everywhere. Thank you. Shriarika, last question, I guess. Yeah.
It's more of the comment to that kind of question that Krishna created this universe for us
Maybe
to
speak up.
realize that how limited we are
Hmm.
in relation to Krishna, to understand our limited position. When we realize that we will stop trying to control everything around us,
Hmm.
the material resources, people, and so on, then we connect with our service energy to Krishna. But because we want to control and enjoy the resources, Krishna gives us this material world to play with.
Yeah. Yeah, till we learn the lesson of that we are not the controller and that we have to submit either to the material or the spiritual energy, we keep getting slapped around, figuratively or literally speaking. Jai Shla Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.